Renting a car in another country can be stressful, especially if you're not sure what to say. From insurance questions to understanding the contract, it's easy to feel lost. But don't worry, today we'll walk you through the essential English phrases step by step. Welcome to
Aprender Inglés with Reza and Craig.
Hi, my name's Reza.
And my name's Craig.
And with nearly 60 years of teaching between us, we'll help you improve your English and take it to the next level. Hi Craig, how you doing?
Hello mate, I'm doing very well. How are you feeling today?
I'm fine. I feel a bit perkier after that lovely cup of coffee and biscuit which you've given us. If you're a new listener to the podcast, you might not know just how seriously Craig and I take biscuits. And we like to experiment with biscuits and sweet things in general. In the last episode, I've got the proof here. Here is a wrapper from Marvin's chocolate from Hamburg, all the way from Germany, which we ate live. Well, for me, it was the first time. I think Craig had tried one already, just to make sure, safety.
Quality
reasons.
testing, have to test the quality.
But I had my chocolate live. So chocolates, biscuits, that sort of thing, very serious business for Craig and I. So I feel much better after Marvin's chocolate and a biscuit and a cup of coffee. How are you? You're looking pretty good.
Yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm ready to speak about renting a car with you this week. But first, we have a lovely poem that was sent to us from Tbilisi, which is near Prague and Dresden. I've never heard of that place, but have you heard of Tbilisi?
Tbilisi rings the bell for me. Is Tbilisi not also the name of the capital of Georgia? You know I love capitals.
Yes.
Capitals and flags. Tbilisi, I'm sure, is the name of the capital of Georgia as well.
I'm not sure, but I do think that Libor will know the answer to that, because Libor sent us the message and he used vocabulary from episode 616, which listeners who have been listening to us before may remember was the episode in which we spoke about different uses of the word box, B-O-X. And Libor sent us this poem that we can play for you now. So this is Libor from Tbilisi.
Boxed in by the past. In the box room sits my ex's box, moist memories of our boxer dogs. I storm through photos, laugh and sigh. The sandbox puppies yelp goodbye. By Libor from Teplitz, near Prague and Dresden.
Thank you, Libor, for your lovely poem. Any comments, Reza?
Yes, I really love that. And I love the fact that you got rhyme into it as well. I loved your delivery. The word disemboxed, I think that's what you said. I'm not sure that exists, but you know what? It doesn't matter because it's poetry. And in poetry, you can make up your own words. And whether it exists or not, I understand it. I get it.
Yeah,
I really like it. Thanks a lot, Libor.
And moist memories is not a common collocation, but it works in poetry. It works in this poem because of the double M sounds there, the moist and the memories going together. So I understand that those memories are sad. Maybe there are tears and crying involved because of the boxer dog. So it works really well. I like that very much.
And I don't know if you did it accidentally or on purpose, but moist memories works very well, not just because it's very evocative, but the repetition of the moist memories, that alliteration.
Yes, indeed.
I've written a couple of poems, not as good as yours, Tbilisi, but one of the collocations I'm really proud of, which I invented, was Polyester Paradise. I'm quite proud of that.
Nice.
I've got that one of my, maybe someday I will read my poem about Polyester Paradise.
That would be lovely. We'd love to hear it. Now, car hire and car rental. We're going to look at some vocabulary so that next time you rent a car in English, you'll know what to say, and equally as important, you'll know what people are saying to you. Reza, when was the last time you hired a car? Do you remember?
Not that long ago, about a month ago, when I was in the Canary Islands.
Yep.
It was a very, very smooth, very easy experience. That was because Well, I'll go into why in a minute, yeah, once we got the vocabulary, but let's say it was a very easy experience, but that's because I've learned from mistakes in the past. We'll talk about that in detail later.
So if you're new to car hire, then maybe you can learn a bit from our mistakes, and we will look at some vocabulary in a second. But first of all, just to remind you, we have spoken about cars and driving before, specifically in episode 101. So go to inglespodcast.com/101 if you want to learn some vocabulary specifically focused on cars and driving. But today we're looking at an aspect of that, which is renting a car or renting a vehicle. And if you want to see a list of all the words and expressions we're going to speak about, go to the show notes for this episode, inglespodcast.com/623. Reza, what's the first collocation on our list?
Well, let's start with the most important thing of all, the rental agreement. Because if you're going to rent something, you have to agree to some conditions. So they will be written, I was going to say on a piece of paper, well, on a document, which could be a Word document, a PDF, you could print it out. And that document is the rental agreement, which you will have to sign. The conditions are written there.
And then you have another collocation with rental, the rental period, the period of time that you are renting the vehicle for. So are you renting it for 3 or 4 days or a couple of weeks? How long are you renting it for is the rental period.
Even if you've done a lot of filling in of boxes and clicking stuff online, you'll still probably have to fill out some paperwork when you get there. When you're physically at the place where you're going to collect the car, they'll probably ask you to fill out some more paperwork. You'll have to write a few things, sign your name, that type of thing. So fill out, that means complete the paperwork.
You can fill out the form or you can fill in the form. Would you agree that it doesn't really matter?
That's true.
Which
some people say
preposition?
out, some in. That's true.
Fill in a form, fill out the form. Speaking of the time period, the period of time, then daily and weekly, there is a rate. The rate is the amount of money you're paying per day, for example, when you rent the car, or sometimes there is a weekly rate, which is a special price for renting 7 days for 1 week.
Now, from time to time, people rent the car, but they just don't arrive at the rental place to pick it up. Don't do that, because you're still going to have to pay some money probably. They have a thing called the no-show fee. So a fee, F-E-E, is money you're charged for a service. A no-show means you didn't appear, you didn't come. So this no-show fee is charged if the driver fails to pick up, to collect the vehicle. Don't think, oh, if I just don't go because I've changed my mind, I won't have to pay any money. No, you'll probably have to pay the no-show fee anyway.
That makes sense because they're saving the car for you, they're reserving it for you, so that, why shouldn't you have to pay a little bit? Insurance coverage. Insurance coverage, very important. The insurance coverage on the car, how much insurance you get if you have an accident or you damage the car in any way, that can give you a lot of peace of mind, make you relaxed if you know that if there is a problem, an accident, if someone hits you or if you reverse into a tree, then you damage the car and the insurance will pay for any damage that happens. There is an excess on insurance, EXCESS, that's the British English word, and deductible is the American English word. And the excess on the insurance or the deductible is the amount of money you need to pay before the insurance covers the rest. So say, for example, you do back into a tree by mistake and the repairs cost 500 euros. Maybe there'll be a 200 euro excess. So you pay the first 200 and the insurance pays the other 300.
Yes, Craig, you mentioned the full coverage. That is what I got when I hired the car. You can say to hire or to rent. the car when I went to the Canary Islands about a month ago.
Fully comprehensive.
Yes, and what I liked about this company is that they didn't do anything else. There's no choice. They only have fully comprehensive, so they don't have all these complicated pricing structures and you got to figure out exactly what is covered and what isn't. They only do fully comprehensive at a price which was pretty much the same as all the other companies who didn't give it as their basic cover. They charged it as extra. So it was a no-brainer to go for the company which only does fully comprehensive at a low price.
What's a no-brainer?
A no-brainer is you don't even have to think about it. It's such an obvious choice. Are you going to pay exactly the same price for fully comprehensive or full cover insurance? Or are you going to pay that price to just get basic insurance and then have to add on extra cover? Well, it's a no-brainer. Clearly the fully comprehensive or full insurance, that means everything's covered already.
Yeah, I must admit when I was younger, I used to always get the excess because it brought down the price of the daily or weekly rental cost. But the last few years, I have had a couple of problems with insurance when I'm renting a car. These days, I always get comprehensive. It's peace of mind. You don't have to think about it, don't have to worry. If you smash the car up, if you break a window, whatever happens, the insurance will cover it. And yeah, you pay a little bit more sometimes, but it's a good investment, I think.
Yeah, going off at an angle a little bit, but it's related to this. A tip for you, I've never actually done this myself because it hasn't been necessary, but I would do it if it helped me. Some people I know have done it. You don't have to buy the insurance for the rental car from the company that's renting you the car.
No, you don't.
And I know some people who've done that. So imagine you just pay for the basic cost of the car. Perhaps it has no insurance whatsoever. Okay, don't worry. You can go to another company and give them the details of the car you're renting and they will give you a price for fully comprehensive insurance of the other company's car and it might be cheaper. And I know some people who've done that. I haven't done it because it hasn't been necessary, but I would do it if it saved me a lot of money. Have you done it, Craig?
I haven't done it, but I know that it's a possibility. So, you know, if you are a little bit short on cash or money and you are on a tight budget, it's a good idea to have a look at other insurance companies. Maybe you'll save some money having a different insurer than the rental insurance.
And I asked myself, but how could that be? How can these second companies give you really good value insurance? And here's my theory. An insurance company, or a car rental company, I should say, dealing with an insurance company is not the same as you dealing with the car rental company. So the car rental company, let's be honest, might muck you about a bit. There's a good phrasal verb. It's their word against yours. Muck you about, yeah, to make life difficult for you, say things which you're not sure are true or agree with, but they're not going to do that with an insurance company. An insurance company know exactly how to fight back, so I reckon that's how they can get such good prices compared to individuals. Would you say so?
Yeah, I think you're right there. I agree with that. And speaking of cost, another thing that could bring the price up a little and make it a bit more expensive is if you add an extra driver. With some contracts, with some companies, adding another driver, an additional driver, will make the rental agreement a bit more expensive. So that's something to remember or to bear in mind. Another additional driver may be a higher cost.
But I don't know what's most common, but in my case, it's always been free. Maybe I've been lucky. But all the cars I've rented, I guess I haven't rented that many, it's always been free to add the additional driver. I've maybe been lucky. And again, it's a no-brainer. If there are two of you and it's free, for goodness sake, put the second person
if it's no
as a
extra
named
cost.
driver.
But if it's a young, say for example, you're traveling with your son or daughter and they're young, that might increase the cost.
The age.
The age, if they're under 21, for example, that might increase the cost a bit. Or if they're old, I don't know.
Yeah, probably over about 70. Yeah, that's true. I hadn't thought of that. Yeah.
What's a security deposit?
So security deposit is money that you pay for nothing. You don't get anything in return, but it's in case something happens, like you wreck the car, to wreck something to destroy it, or you steal the car, could happen. So that way the rental company have some money from you that they've taken already, which clearly they're not going to give back to you if you've done something to their car that you shouldn't have. That's the security deposit.
Right. Reza mentioned before when he was speaking about the no-show fee, the fact that you, if you don't pick up the vehicle, and that phrasal verb to pick up isn't literally picking up the car above your head. It's idiomatic use of that phrasal verb, and that means to collect it. So to collect the car, you will have to say where you are collecting it when you book the car online, when you reserve it. So the pickup location, and the opposite of picking up is dropping off. So pick up, drop off. What is the drop off location? Now, sometimes it's the same. You're renting a car while you're coming to Valencia, you pick it up in Valencia and you drop it off, you leave it in Valencia. However, maybe you're driving to Barcelona, in which case the pick up and the drop off location is different. And in my experience, the car company will charge you extra for this, because if you're flying and you're leaving the car in a different city, that car needs to come back to the city where you started from, the original city. So they will charge you an excess, they'll charge you more money if you say that you want to drop it off in a different location. Notice I've put the object there in the middle of that phrasal verb, drop it off. Pick it up, drop it off.
Another thing that you must be aware of, because it can affect how much money you'll have to pay, is the fuel policy. So you usually, but not always, but usually you have to return the vehicle with a full tank. Although strangely, whenever I got my car in the Canary Islands a month ago, it was specifically 3/4 full, which I thought was a bit odd, but that was their policy, 3/4 full. And I suppose they do it because it's really hard to judge it exactly 3/4. So you're probably going to leave a little bit extra there because you don't want the stress of arguing. If it's a tiny bit less than 3/4, they say, okay, this is under 3/4, we're going to have to charge you the excess. So I reckon it's done on purpose. So they always have a little bit in their favor, you know. I imagine that's what it's like. Although, who's going to use that extra fuel? Well, the next customer. But I suppose every once in a while, there's someone who, rather than 3/4 full, leaves it 2/3. And they say, 2/3, we got to charge you 25 euros. I don't know, am I being too cynical? What do you think, Craig?
No, I think you're probably right. That I've never heard of that before, but that sounds like a logical explanation, because when you're filling up the car, then it's just always going to be full, isn't it? But if you're filling it to a line, then you want to be more maybe over the line. Well, it depends how honest you are or how worried you are. But yeah, there could be, maybe they've tested it and they've realised they're getting more petrol if they do it that way. Now, Reza spoke about the full tank, filling up the vehicle with petrol. Petrol is the UK word, British English, and gas or gasoline is the American English word. And of course, you also get cars that run on diesel. That phrasal verb to run on means they use. So they use diesel and not petrol or gas in the US. And when you take it to the petrol station or gas station, then you need to fill it up. There's another phrasal verb that's separated with that pronoun in the middle, fill it up, which is exactly what you'd say to the attendant at the petrol station or gas station if you want a full tank. Can you fill it up, please? Fill it up. Or top up. Top up is another phrasal verb, which means it's nearly full, but not quite. So top up means take it from 3/4 to completely full, to top up the tank.
And the words you need to use when you ask them at the car rental place about the fuel is, you need the verb to take. You say, does it take petrol or diesel? Or if you're American, does it take gasoline or diesel? So the verb is to take. A car takes a certain fuel. And once you've topped up the tank, you'd better check that you really have by looking at the fuel gauge, or the petrol gauge, as people say in Britain, or the gasoline gauge, or the gas gauge, as they say in the United States. So we know that gas is not the same as liquid, but in American English, as Craig said, gas is an abbreviation of gasoline, which is a liquid. It's the informal way of saying it. So the gauge is the little needle which moves around, the little dial which tells you how much you've got.
And one thing to bear in mind or think about when you rent your car is fuel efficiency. How efficient is your car? Is it going to use a lot of petrol or gas, or is it going to be quite economical? Notice I used economical there, the adjective, and not economic. We use economical when we're speaking about a machine, for example, like a washing machine or a car. It's economical if you get value for money. But the adjective economic is used more when we're talking about bigger things, like the economic policy of a country, for example. So how economical is the car? Is it a small car? Is it efficient? So ask about the fuel efficiency. How many miles or kilometers do you get to the gallon or to the litre?
Yes, I've always been worried about fuel efficiency, but I know some people who think, oh, it's only a couple of days or a week, who cares? I want to have the car that I want.
That might change this year with the price.
Yeah, I was going to say this is May 2026 and there's a war going on in the Middle East, so you really should think about fuel efficiency whenever you fill the tank up.
As Jon Snow says, winter is coming, my friends. Not literally. It's going to be expensive, so bear that in mind, your fuel efficiency. We've spoken about the drop-off fee. In a vehicle, in a car, you can get a 2-door car. You can get a 4-door car. So 2-door cars tend to be smaller. Maybe a sports car will be 2 doors. You can also get a 5-door car because the part at the back of the car that opens is called a hatchback in British English. That will be a 5-door vehicle. So they include that part at the back that opens up where you put your luggage. They use that as a door. So a 5-door or a hatchback vehicle will have that extra room at the back and a big opening for you to put your luggage.
Yeah, I can appreciate that most of you, I would be one of you, I don't really think of cars in terms of if it's 2-door, 4-door, or whatever, usually. But the thing is, for car rental companies, very often that's how they advertise the type of car you're paying for. They sometimes don't say specifically what car it will be. Sometimes they say, price X is a 4-door car with the engine about this size, whatever cc.
What really annoys me is that sometimes on the website they will say the model and the make of the car, a Ford Escort for example, but when you go to pick the car up, then they say, oh no, this is the car that you've got, and it's a completely different car. So you've chosen the car you want on the website, but when you get to the car rental place, suddenly, oh no, we don't have that car anymore, or we don't have it in stock. Well, I reserved it, so why not? That really annoys me.
Well, you won't be able to do anything about it because I'm sure it's in the small print. La letra pequeña, as the Spanish say, the small print. It'll be written there somewhere, or similar.
Yeah.
It's always or similar. They say, all we did was guarantee you a 4-door vehicle. You thought you were getting a Citroen whatever, but we're giving you a Volkswagen whatever, but they both got 4 doors, right? So, or similar is the way they get out of that. Yeah.
But also make sure you've got enough space in your car. Make sure that the luggage is going to get in, especially if you're traveling with a family. Make sure the boot space, the boot is the part at the back of the car that opens where you put your suitcases. Trunk is the American English word for that. Make sure it's big enough to take and to hold all of your suitcases and your travel gear.
Yes, I can't stress how important that is. If your suitcase does not fit in the boot or trunk, that's a really big deal. You might think, well, I'll just put it in the back. Oh, really? If I were you, there are certain places in the world, many places in the world, where I would not park my car with the suitcase visible in the back.
Valencia being one of them.
Yeah, it is an invitation for thieves to break into your car and steal it. But if it's in the boot, they don't see it. Don't leave a suitcase visible in sight in your car. You're asking for trouble.
And don't leave anything in Spain visible, even a small bag. Just keep everything in the boot. Unlimited mileage. So the mileage sometimes is limited. You can only drive 2,000 miles for this amount of money. If you want to drive more, it will cost you X amount per kilometre or per mile. So make sure that you check if the mileage is limited or unlimited. I would suggest unlimited, especially if you're touring. If you're traveling around the country, you don't know exactly how far you're going to be going. It's probably better to get unlimited mileage.
Now, we hope your common sense has already made you realize that you're going to need a valid driving license, but let's just point it out. You'll need a valid driving license, which may not be your normal license. It depends where you are. You might have to also get an international license in some countries, depending on your nationality and where you're going to. You may have to get an IDP, an international driving permit. This is something which you apply for from your own government, and they will give it to you, and it's a temporary license. Usually it only lasts about 6 months or something like that, and it allows you to drive in certain countries which require it. So check out the information. You might need an international license in some countries.
Remember, you can see a list of all of these words and expressions on our webpage. Go to the show notes at inglespodcast.com/623 and you'll see a list of all these words, including international driving permit and roadside assistance. What's that? Well, if you break down, and the phrasal verb to break down means that your car stops working, there's a problem, usually with the engine, you can't move. So you need somebody to come and fix your car or give you a replacement car, and that is called roadside assistance. Make sure that you tick that box, make sure that's included if it's important to you, because if you're touring around Scotland or Ireland and suddenly the car breaks down, well, what do? You need to phone the rental company and get them to come and help you.
Always carry out your own vehicle inspection before you take the car away. Now, very often the company will also have their own inspection, but do yours, because your opinion might not be the same as theirs, particularly if you don't have fully comprehensive insurance or full cover. So the last time I picked up a car, as I said, in the Canary Islands, it was fully covered, so they didn't look at it at all. But I wanted to point something out. One of the bumpers was loose. The bumper is at the front of the car. It was clearly loose, and it might have fallen out. And it was the front bumper which was hanging. And I said, hey, the bumper's a bit loose, I want to show you. They said, don't worry. I was like, but I want to show you too. And he said, yeah, okay, I can see that. Off you go. So in a way, that made me feel more secure, because then I was sure that, okay, it really is fully comprehensive, because I'm pointing out the fact that this bit of the car is moving about and it could fall off at any moment, but he didn't care. And I thought, okay, that means if it does fall off, then definitely I don't have to pay anything. But I had full cover, yeah? So don't trust 100% the car rental company's inspection. Do your own. Look for dents. Dents are like where instead of being flat, the door or the bodywork it goes in a little bit because something has hit it, something has come in contact with it, a dent. Scratches where the paint has disappeared, yeah, scratches. Take photos if you find anything. Pay attention to the wheel trims. So that's the bit of the car just above the wheel. Very often there are little problems there. The windscreen, the glass that you look through at the front of the car, look out for scratches or little holes there. They can cost a lot of money to fix. And of course, as I said, bumpers, the bit at the front or the back of the car where you can bump, you can come into contact with something and not ruin the whole car. So sometimes bumpers have little imperfections.
This is a very important point, which cost me about €200 when I rented a car in Scotland a few years ago. And I don't know if it's wheel trims, I'm not quite sure if that's the technical word for it. But you know, when you park your car next to the curb, and the curb is the part of the pavement that is raised a little bit, and sometimes you get too close and you scrape the inside of the wheel. Well, that's what happened to me. And because I didn't take photographs of the scratches, when I took the car back, I had to pay for some scratches that a previous renter had done. And I was absolutely sure I hadn't done it. But because I didn't have proof, I didn't take those photographs, I had to pay the excess.
Craig learnt the hard way.
I learned the hard way, and I'm passing my tales of woe, my unfortunate sad stories onto you, so that you don't do it.
Because you'll notice something, and sorry for being so cynical, but it's a fact, and it's inevitable. If the car rental company carries out their inspection, you won't believe how slack their inspection is. It lasts about 5 seconds. Yeah, there you go. Okay, all done.
Time's money.
Yeah. No, it's not that. It's like they don't see anything. That's
Take
their
photos,
their
take
inspection
photographs.
is incredibly lacking in detail whenever you take the car away, but it is incredibly detailed when you bring it back.
Exactly.
It's 5 seconds when you're taking it away, and when you bring it back, it's 14 minutes.
Yes.
That is life for you. That's the way it works.
Very good advice. And all of these scratches, as Reza mentioned, and dents, D-E-N-T-S, that's where the metal of the car goes in because you've hit something like a tree or another car. All of these imperfections around the car, that's wear and tear. Wear and tear. When something gets old and it starts to look a bit old, it has some scratches and dents and it's not new anymore, then we call that wear and tear.
Sometimes you can get an upgrade. So that means you go up a grade, right? So imagine you were going to get a standard car, not too fancy, at a certain price. But they say, hey, you know what? We like the look of you. Or it's a special offer week. We're going to give you a much better car for the same price. So they might just give it to you free as some kind of special offer.
Has that happened to you?
No, it hasn't happened to me. Or you can ask for it. But, you know, be careful of what you ask for. Or also be careful of presents. Because here's the thing. They might give you an upgrade whether you ask for it or not. Okay, right? The new car they're giving you, does it have the same fuel efficiency as the one you wanted? Are they giving you a bigger, a better car, which will have an engine which uses a lot more petrol? That free upgrade might cost you money because you got to spend it on petrol. Think about that.
Mm-hmm. Good point. Now, when you rent the car, it could be a manual gear, which is quite common in the UK. When you rent a car, it could be a manual transmission or a stick shift. So manual would be the UK English, the British English expression, and stick shift, that would be the expression in the US if you're renting a car there. And that speaks about the transmission of the gears. So if you are changing the gears manually, that's a manual or a stick shift, or you could go for and choose an automatic transmission. So you only have two pedals, the acceleration and the brake, and the gears change automatically. So those are two choices that you might come across when you need to choose your car.
Craig, have you ever driven a car with automatic transmission?
Yeah, the last time I rented a car was a couple of years ago in Canada, and the car was automatic. It was very nice.
So is Canada like America where most cars are automatic?
Yeah, most cars there, especially rental cars, will be automatic in Canada and the US.
Right. I think a problem Americans and I guess Canadians have in Europe is it's the opposite. Most cars are manual and they don't know how to operate them. They're not quite sure what to do with the gear stick.
No, the clutch, the whole clutch thing where you have to press the clutch, change gears, it's new.
And sometimes they've said to me in a car rental place, they've said, look, I know you haven't asked for an automatic one, but we've got one. Do you want it? And I always say, no, I don't, because I know the gears. I wouldn't know what to do in an automatic car. I'm frightened that I'd do something wrong with the pedals. So I say, no, just give me a manual.
The secret is with automatics just to, if you're right-handed and you use your right foot more, then just put your left foot behind the seat or tuck it under the seat and just use one foot. And then it's brake, accelerator, brake, like a go-kart at the circus or the fair. You just press it like a go-kart and it goes forward and you brake when you stop and that's it.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. Only use one foot.
The complication if you have 2 feet out and you think, oh, I have to press.
Is that the clutch? But there is no clutch. The clutch, we should say, is el embrague. Yeah. You can see that if you go to the episode about driving a car, episode 101, we go into the details.
So when you rent a car, if you have kids, you might want to ask for a child seat. That's quite self-explanatory. It's a seat that you put in the back of the car to make sure your child is travelling safely. And there's also a grace period, GRACE, a grace period. And that's the extra time that you are allowed to return the vehicle after the contract has expired without being charged extra. So obviously if you've kept the car for 2 or 3 days longer than you paid for it, they're going to charge you more money. But maybe if it's a couple of hours and it's past the time that you said you would return it, then there's probably some flexibility there. You won't be charged extra, hopefully, and that's called the grace period.
But here's a tip, because I nearly got into an argument once about this, but just about managed it. If you can see that there's a long queue, which there often is, for returning the car when it's the drop off and you're very near the time limit, go and tell them you're there. And they'll say, yeah, we'll come to you in a minute. And you say, all right, but here I am. Because maybe 5 minutes later, that was beyond the time. And there are companies who are not so reputable who play with that. So you say to them, okay, but I'm waiting here at 11:25. Okay? And they say, yeah. And then they see you at 11:40 and you say, yes, I was the guy who came over at 11:25, who had to return the car before 11:30. Remember me? Honestly, they try it on. To try something on is to try every little trick to get extra money out of you.
Yeah, be careful, be diligent, and also notice that most rental companies will need a credit card from you in your name, in the name of the driver. And they will use that credit card for the deposit. They don't often accept debit cards, so be careful. Don't take your debit card and automatically expect the company to accept it. Make sure you have a valid credit card in your name when you go to pick up and rent your car.
And of course, most people these days reserve cars online. Still, we think you should bring proof of your booking, either printed or on your phone. Don't take it for granted. Don't presume that all the details that you thought were in the contract have been saved and that their car rental company has access to them. Or maybe they say things which you don't think are true. So print it out or have it on your phone so you can show them some kind of proof.
Exactly. Now we've driven a long way, lots of vocabulary in today's episode. Remember, you can go to the show notes and check the list. But now we're parking and we are getting out of the car and it's your turn to practice your English. What has been your experience of renting cars abroad? And how do you feel about driving in a country where they drive on the opposite side of the road? Have you done that? What was it like? Have you had any horror stories about vehicle rental? If you have and you want to share them with us, we would love to get your messages so that we can include them in a future podcast. You can send us a voice message by going to speakpipe.com. That's speakpipe.com/Ingles podcast. Reza, how can people contact us by email?
You could write to craig@inglespodcast.com or belfastreza@gmail.com.
And if you're a Spanish speaker and you want to improve your English with free and paid resources, why not visit the Mansion Ingles website at mansioningles.com. And for paid products, you can browse the online store at store.mansioningles.net.
Whenever we're doing these podcasts, Craig and I use some show notes which we print out, which is kind of the basic structure of what we'll be talking about. But we don't write every single word that we're going to say. We are spontaneous, we add things, we react to each other. However, you might want to see every single word that we say. In other words, you might like a full transcription of the audio. Well, to get that, we invite you to join the Patreon program. That's Patreon. And as a Patreon member, after making a small donation, you'll receive the full transcript by email every week so that you can read every single word that we say. And also, as an added bonus, you'll get a monthly invitation to join Craig for an informal chat on Zoom to further practice your speaking. There's a link in the show notes if you're interested. It's patreon.com/inglespodcast.
And we can't mention everybody who is supporting us on Patreon, but we will say hello and thank you to our most recent supporters, and they are Pablo Albert, Juan Antonio Gonzalez Marquez, and Ole. Thank you very much to all of you for sponsoring us on Patreon. Next week's episode is going to be quite colourful, isn't it? Why is that?
Yes, because the topic is colour idioms in English.
So join us next week for Colour Idioms, and until then, have a lovely week ahead. Thank you for listening this week. It's goodbye from me.
And it's bye-bye from me.